Hey there, it's Kat, and this is Brews and Reviews. I don't remember the things that I read in September. That's sad but true. Now, I'm not sure if you noticed, but this video is just a tiny weeny bit late. A little smidgen of lateness here and there. No, it's very late. I apologise. This is my September wrap-up. I'm gonna try and keep this as short as possible because I've already filmed this video once and then deleted the footage. Why did I do it? Who knows? I just deleted it for no reason. Clearly I'm very enthused by this fact. Anyway. Moving on. These are the books that I read in September. I am going to keep this as quick as I possibly can make it because I'm sure you all don't care and probably no one's going to watch this video, but this is for me. I'm doing this for me. I mean, and you guys if you want to watch, but like, it's fine. The first book that I read this month was A Pho Love Story, and this was a cute contemporary romance about two teens who work in warring, family-owned Vietnamese restaurants. I really enjoyed all the things about cultural references, the talk about food. I really recommend the audiobook for this one because all the pronunciation was correct and it really helped, because how long did it take me to not say faux love story? It's fun. I hope. Also, I really liked the romance aspect of this and how the two main characters sort of helped each other to discover what they actually wanted rather than their family expectations of them. So that was really good. Enjoyed that a lot. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was Spin the Damn Bottle by M. Darcy. This is the second book in the All the Games We Play duology. It was a duology. I think it was vaguely game-related name title thing. This is a continuation of the bully romance from the first book. It was quick. I think I would have liked for things to have delved a bit deeper, but it was satisfying enough for what it was. It just didn't have everything that I wanted it to. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. There was no cat death in this one though, so that's definitely an improvement from the first one. The next book I read was Vardesia by Lynette Noni. This is the final book in the Medoran Chronicles, the first of which is Akane, and finally finished this series, and I'm so glad that I did. I was putting this one off for so long because I was kind of terrified that I wasn't gonna like the ending, and I was like, oh, but I really want it to be good. And also, I didn't want to live in the aftermath of the thing that happened at the end of the last book that made me very upset. And there was a little bit of living in that made me, like, sad again. But apart from that, I really liked the ending, and I feel like it was really fitting for the story that had been built up. I would also definitely go and reread this series again and just sort of enjoy it. It was great. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Next up, we have the long-awaited Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I read this chunk and I was disappointed by it. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. And I just don't think this book was for me. It was very, very long. It didn't need to be half as long as it was, and it was very historically focused, and I don't particularly enjoy that in books. I would rather the plot move on. There could have been way more things with dragons and creatures that I would have found far more interesting, but I appreciate that a lot of people really like the history, and the focus on the baby thing, I just didn't care. Like, I wish I did. I wish I liked this book more, especially because it's so pretty. So pretty. But I just didn't, and it wasn't for me, and I don't know if it's that I have sort of an issue with Samantha Shannon's work, because her writing doesn't always work for me, so maybe it's a personal thing. But I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, and, you know, I'm kind of sad that I didn't like it more. Speaking of Samantha Shannon's writing, I also read The Pale Dreamer, which is a novella that takes place before the Bone season, and actually made me like the Bone season a little bit more. But I think that's because this novella is kind of a prequel about the main character joining a gang, and it's kind of like a ghost story with like a poltergeist hunt aspect to it, and I just enjoyed that. I thought it was fun, the way that sort of developed. I think the backstory helped me appreciate the characters a little bit more, so I am going to continue with that series, but I think the next book may sort of settle whether I continue reading Samantha Shannon's work or if she's just not the author for me. I gave that one 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was Moxie by Jennifer Matthew, and honestly I'm just too lazy to go and get it because I forgot to pick it up. So here's a picture. I found this book not totally realistic, but I did like the exploration of feminism and girls coming together to sort of support each other. I enjoyed that. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Next up I read 3 books from the same series, first of which was Crown of Midnight. Then I read The Assassin's Blade. And then I read Heir of Fire, all by Sarah J Maas. I have read all of these books before, was continuing my reread. I liked Crown of Midnight less this time because there was too much kale. Nobody wants kale, I'll have a kale-free salad, please. No thank you. Along the same lines as last time I read it, the first stories in Assassin's Blade are really good, and then the latter ones, the Sam-focused ones, I don't enjoy as much. And then Heir of Fire, I love this book. Manon, I love Manon. I actually love Aelin and Rowan's storyline in this one as well. I just think the books start to get interesting here, so 5 out of 5 stars. I gave the other two 3 out of 5 stars. Sorry if anything's different, my battery died, here we are. Now the next book that I read suffered from the fact that I had literally just read those Throne of Glass books, and that's Vengeance Bloom by Chloe Hodge, and it is in fact the only book that I have DNF'd this year. I DNF'd it at 17 pages, which feels a little bit harsh, although I was reading those 17 pages for an hour and trying to get through it, and unfortunately I just couldn't. For whatever reason, I found it too info dumpy, I couldn't get into it. There were obvious similarities to Throne of Glass, and it just wasn't written in a style that my brain would connect with at the time. So I'm not saying that this was a bad book, it's just I wasn't going to get through it, and I just didn't have time to sort of invest in trying to get through the info dumpy aspects and trying to understand it. It just felt too difficult, and I wish I could have given it a better chance, but I tried. I just kept going, and I was like, I don't care, and I absorbed nothing of it, which is unfortunate. So if you did read this book, was it worth persevering with? Because I would really like to know, and like, maybe I'll give it another go if you guys say it's just really good. Otherwise, I'm not picking it up again, because who has time for that? Next up, we have another chunk. Yeah, chunky Midnight Sun. I'm honestly so proud of myself for having read such chunky books this month, and finally having picked Midnight Sun up, because I was definitely putting that one off for a long time. This book is Twilight from Edward's point of view, and it was familiar yet also new, with some crazy things that make no sense whatsoever, but were kind of fun to read about. The only sad sort of thing that I had about this book is that it made some characters less likable. Like, they're more likable from Bella's point of view, but when you see them from Edward's point of view, it's like, oh, okay, less fond of you now, which is a bit unfortunate. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, but do be aware that that is mostly nostalgia talking. Next I picked up A Dark Vampire Curse by Nikki St. Crow, and this one is sort of a prequel to the Wrath and Rain trilogy that I read, like Sinful Demon King and Ruthless Demon King, but it's about like side characters, so it's more like a companion, but it does take place before those books. I found that this one didn't grab me quite as much as any of Nikki St. Crow's other books have done, but it was still good. I don't know, there was something about it that just didn't quite hit the same mark as her other books usually do. But I still enjoyed it. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The next book that I picked up was The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch, and again, this is another one that I've been putting off. This is about a group of thieves, heists, interesting sort of underworld dealings and goings on, and how it doesn't always work out for everyone. I actually really enjoyed this book, and I'm really surprised. I know Mel from a book fiend named Mel had told me that I was going to enjoy this book, and like I was holding out hope that I was going to enjoy it, but this sort of book can be very hit or miss with me, and fortunately it was a hit. I thought the characters were clever, the way that it was written was clever, it was very fun, and I enjoyed the twists and layers in the plans that the characters had created. And also Father Chains, I just really enjoyed his dialogue, it just made me laugh. So, very good book, very much enjoyed it, glad I picked it up. It was 4 out of 5 stars. Then I picked up Aurora Burning by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, and this is the start of the Aurora trilogy? I'm sure that's not what it's called, but that's what I'm calling it. So I've been putting this one off for a while, and I'm not really sure why. It did give me Illuminae vibes, found family, space fun. This one's about some space cadets who get sort of put into a mishmash dregs of the Academy ship because their captain found a lone survivor of a spaceship incident that happened and veered off instead of doing his test. That's a terrible description of that book, and I will not elaborate. I found it a fun space found family type adventure, and then the end of the book got a lot darker, and I enjoyed that aspect more. There was a whole hive mindish-esque thing that I won't talk about more because it is a bit spoilery, but I liked that, and I liked the darker aspects of it. I also find the writing style is just so easy to just get into, and I like it. So I give it 4 out of 5 stars. And then the last book that I read was Supernaturally by Kirsten White. This is the second book in the Paranormalcy trilogy, and I kind of could have not read this book. I could have just not read it, and I would have probably had fonder memories of the first book in the series. Now, it had been a while since I read the first book, so it did take me a little bit of time to get back into it and remember who the characters are and what they meant to each other, but at the same time it's a little bit mundane, a little bit predictable. Not much actually happened, and it very much has middle book syndrome. So if you have read this entire trilogy, can you tell me if the third book is worth picking up? Because at the moment I don't think I'll pick it up, but if the third book is really good, then I will. But this book didn't make me want to pick the third one up, and I'm kind of content to leave the series where it is, unless something amazing happens in the third book. So let me know. I give that one 3 out of 5 stars. So those are the books that I read in September. Seems a long time ago now, because it is a long time ago now. For a quick breakdown of this, I had 1 DNF, 6 3 stars, 8 4 stars, and 1 5 star. 11 were audiobooks, 4 were ebooks, and 1 was a physical book. If you made it this far into the video, please leave me a dragon emoji. I would very much appreciate that. And if you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!